Hello and welcome to the first ever Scout Trio Saturday Night Chat. This is a light-hearted, baseball-oriented chat between four close friends. Hope you enjoy. Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever Scout Trio podcast. This is Zach. Here we have Blake, Jake, and Sean. So I guess I will be answering all the questions tonight, and Blake, Jake, and Sean will be asking them all. So fire away, guys, whenever you're ready.
What is Scout Trio?
Scout Trio is a website created to provide information on amateur baseball players for the common person, whether that be an avid baseball fan, people who just enjoy the game, or teams, agencies, anyone who just enjoys the game of baseball.
What do you look for in a prospect?
So that's a little bit twofold. Are we talking more about pitchers? Talking about hitters? What are we talking about?
Hitters.
So with hitters, the three main attributes that I look for the most are quick twitch ability, athleticism, and then a hit tool. So with a hit tool, we want guys who have some consistency in their load and ability to hit the ball to and through the point of contact well. With their athleticism, we're talking about guys who are able to make adjustments at the plate, guys athletically in the field who have soft hands, quick footwork, things of that nature that are important to provide a skill set that's attributable to a team.
And now pitchers.
So with pitchers, we're looking for arm speed, we're looking for athleticism, and we're looking for a little bit of projection as well. So, I mean, with an arm, we're looking at guys who have some present velocity or have an ability to spin a breaking ball, but at the same time, there is some room for growth in the future.
In your opinion, when you see a five-tool player, what two tools in your eye are the most value to you?
So when talking about five-tool player, you're talking about position player, correct? So the main tool that's most important is the hit tool. If you're going to be able to hit, you're going to be able to play in the big league someday. No matter if you have 20 speed, 20 arm strength, but you can hit, someone's going to find a spot for you. So hit tool for sure is the most important. Then if you're talking second most important, I mean athleticism, but athleticism isn't one of those five tools.
Just answer the question, Zach.
Fully aware. Thanks, Carmack. If I had to pick, it would be defensive ability. If we're having to pick on the second most important five-player tool, it would be defense for me, because you want guys who are able to play up the middle. If you got a guy who's a plus defender behind the plate, a plus defender at shortstop, or a plus defender in center field, they're going to be able to at least make AAA and things like that, because those are premium defensive positions. So the long-winded hit tool and defense would be the top two in that order.
Location or velo in a pitcher? In your eye.
If
Location win or does velo win?
So if we're talking take a step back, extreme broadness of this and everything like that, we want velocity. So if I would rather have a guy with 8 velo and 2 command, or a guy with 2 velocity and 8 command, I want a guy with 8 velocity and 2 command. But if we're talking about a guy who I can have a 5 and a 7 with, then I'm going to pick the 7 command, 5 velo, if that makes sense. So if we're talking about the extremes, I'm going to want the velo guy. But if we're talking about when we get into the normal realm of where we're talking about really 3 to 7, and then also more breaking it down to 4 to 6, if we're going to get a guy with 6 command control and 4 velo, it might be a little bit better. But at the same time, when we're talking about really with 5 and 7, when we're talking about, I'd rather have a guy with 5 velocity and 7 command than a guy with 7 velocity and 5 command.
Go ahead and describe to us and people who don't know what you mean by the numbers you're throwing out. The
So
5, 6 command.
Yeah. So taking a step back, everything that we're talking about on this podcast and for podcasts in the future is going to be on a 20 to 80 scale. So 20 means the very bottom of the scale, 80 means the very top of the scale. 50 will be obviously in the middle, 50 is average. So every number in between 20 and 80, going by correspondence of 5, has an adjective added to it. So a 20 is inferior, 80 is superior, excellent, or whatever you want to call it, with 50 being average, and so on and so forth. You can go to scouttrio.com to read the full list of adjectives with every single number grade. But at the same time, the main purpose of what I want to try to get at is that we're working with a 3 standard deviation prospect here. So with 3 standard deviations, you're basically getting to 100%. Not quite, but at the same time, there's always going to be things that are outside the box. You can call Trout a 90 if you really wanted to. You can call Bryce Harper a 90 if you really wanted to. Things of that nature. But at the same time, when you really break it down, there's going to be a lot of players who fit in that 40 to 60 range. And then there's going to be less players who fit in the 30 to 70, so on and so forth.
So what's the history of the 20 to 80 scale? You just mentioned a 90 player. Now that's off the charts. So why did we create a 20 to 80 instead of a 1 to 100? Something of that nature.
I wish I could give you a better answer. I honestly don't know of the specific reasoning. Just when I got into scouting about 5 years ago now, that's what was taught to me, and that's what I followed through with.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your history. You mentioned 5 years ago. Again, what qualifies you to be the head scout, scout trio, and make judgments on these amateur baseball players?
Yeah. So I played baseball my whole life. Went to University of Oregon starting in 2012. Once I went to school there, just started going to games. Like I said, played baseball. But didn't really know what I was doing, knew what a really good player was and knew what a really bad player was, but really was struggling with it in between. Started talking to area scouts up in the Pacific Northwest, starting to get a little bit of a better feel of what I was talking about, like trying to find out who could potentially play in the big league someday, who was not really that much of a prospect, what was really going on there. So I did that for a year, then spent 3 years as an associate scout for the Milwaukee Brewers. Basically what an associate scout is, it's an unpaid, glorified internship, I guess if you want to call it that, where...
Sell yourself short here.
Oh, it's the truth. I mean, I'm telling you what it is.
Okay.
So you're basically working for an area scout in that particular territory as being an associate. So during my time there, I would go to games and report to my boss, Sean Whalen, who's an awesome, awesome mentor and awesome person. Sean was fantastic with helping me out and going to games and helping me learn more about scouting in general. So I spent 3 years doing that. And then after I graduated college in 2016, the Brewers offered me a position to go run the whole video department for extended spring training in the Pioneer League season. And then I also helped out our pro department writing pro summations during the time as well.
So you mentioned, the head of scout trio. There's 2 others in the trio, right?
Yeah. So Blake and Sean are actually sitting right next to me. You probably heard them asking me questions earlier. They are my 2 scouting assistants. They help with watching videos of games that I go to and everything like that, and understanding. They both played their whole lives as well. Sean played collegiately. Blake played all throughout high school, and he's actually coaching in high school right now. So they both have strong baseball acumen.
And there's rumors going around the water cooler that Blake and Sean, they do most of the work.
Hey, I love. We all love that question. We all love that question, except I hope we can get Sean to stop laughing at this point. Sean's been like 2 games this spring, so, and Blake's been like 3. So I don't think that's fully accurate. I've written all the reports. I've taken all the video. So that was more of a question to fire up everybody than anything else. So once we all calmed down here, Sean and Blake thought that question was pretty funny, asked by Jake. So to further answer that question, I'm going to almost all the games. Sean and Blake are helping me out by watching video and helping me make better judgments on these players, because if it's a one-man band here, it's difficult to go out and go see players on a limited basis, because I'm normally seeing guys before I'm writing reports on them 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times, because we're trying to give the viewers, you guys, as much content as possible. So if I go out and see a guy 10 different times, it's limiting my ability to go out and see a lot of other players. So that was more of a question that was to rile me up, to put it in any better terms, which I thought was pretty funny as well, because, like I said, I'm the one going out and writing reports and taking video, but at the same time, Sean and Blake's help is extremely valuable to me because of their ability to see players from a different light than I might. So that it's extremely helpful for Scout Trio as a whole.
So you'd say that, like, Sean and Blake, they'll keep you in check when you go out, and you'll have them kind of look over what you see and whether they think that you're just keeping it on track.
Exactly. So I mean, it's more along the lines of, if I text them and say, hey, this guy's an 80, and they watch the video and they're like, Zach, this guy's not very good, I might have to rethink my judgment on that guy being an 80. Obviously, that's an extreme case. It hasn't happened yet, anything like that. But when we're trying to break down guys and everything like that, if I say a guy, if you read more on the site, if a guy's a B5-6, they might be like, hey, this guy's probably a little bit lower than that, or guy's a little bit higher than that. I think you should go see him again, or something along those lines.
Gotcha. So then, how many times do you have to go see some of these guys to you feel to make like an accurate representation of them? Because I mean, maybe they just have a bad game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and there's probably guys on the site where you look at the pref list and you see other sites like Baseball America, D1 Baseball, a lot of these other sites that do this stuff, and the players' rankings might be different. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own knowledge on players and everything like that. And where I'm ranking these players is based on what I see. It's not what other people have them as or other rankings or anything like that. It's what I see them as. So there's going to be guys on this pref list that you see on the site that you might be like, well, this other site has this guy as a first rounder, but you have him as a third rounder, and vice versa and everything like that. So it's going to be different. But going back to your main question, how many times do I need to see a guy? I prefer to see him as much as I can. But at the same time, if I can see a guy for 2 or 3 games and I can get a good round of batting practice, a full set of batting practice for a hitter, or if I can see a pitcher for at least 3 innings, then I feel like you can make an accurate judgment to at least write a report on the guy. And as I stated earlier, that might not be what the ranking that everyone else said, just because they, like you said, might have a bad game, might do well, do extremely well. You never know what they did that day and how it portrays to the overall light of their prospect status.
So speaking of prospects, who's your favorite prospect right now?
So the top player on our pref list right now is a shortstop from Santiago High School.
Just take a sip of, Zach.
Hey, we're all drinking water here, aren't we? So the top prospect on our pref list right now is Bryce Turang, a shortstop from Santiago High School in California.
Got it.
So the guys just let me know that they're going to start messing with me. So I don't really know what that means at this point, but we're going to find out soon.
All right. So probably, we talk a lot about guys' speed and their ability to see the ball and and their hitting numbers. Where would you rank zodiac signs as in importance in the guy's play? And which zodiac sign?
Nothing. I have no idea about zodiac signs. Even in my daily life, like I don't know what my birth sign is or whatever that is. I don't.
You haven't done any data analysis. For
No.
Hall of Famers.
No.
Statistically, like no. Not at all.
Something to look into.
Yeah, you might really want to start looking into that.
My brother,
give you an advantage.
my brother knows my zodiac sign. I have no idea what my zodiac sign is.
When's your birthday?
October 12th. I have no idea when that is. Like when the zodiac sign is.
I'll look that up and get back to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You also mentioned that you played some baseball in your life. How quick was your home to first time?
That's a pretty good question. So let's actually take a step back here. This is a good point. So speaking of 20 scale, a 20. So I was a right-handed hitter in high school. A 20 runner for a right-handed hitter for the big leagues is a 4.6 to first base. 50 runner would be 4.3, and a 80 runner would be 4.0. Honestly, I was probably like a 4.5 to first base, so that would put me in the 30 pure speed category. That would be my best.
There's 4 other tools.
Yeah, I mean, it's best educated guess. I mean, if I had to grade myself out as a prospect in high school, I was probably a 30 hitter with 20 power, with a forearm and 45 defense, and a 30 runner. So yeah, speaks to my prospect. I wasn't much of a prospect.
All right, Zach. Turns out you are a Libra.
Okay.
Other famous Libras include Kim Kardashian,
Great.
Will Smith, Eminem, and Vladimir Putin. So
Awesome.
There's that for
Too.
you. I don't know how that relates.
So
but
it would also be Steve Young, Brett Favre, and Jerry Rice.
I don't know zodiac signs.
No, because they're all right around my birthday.
Oh.
I know they're all in that like 11
there you
and
go.
14.
Favre,
Yeah.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh
there's
yeah.
some sort of connection.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and Steve Young too, and Jerry Rice.
There you
Right
go.
there, all right there. I think Rice is. I know Steve Young and Favre is. Blake thinks that's hilarious.
So here's kind of something going off of that. Do you think that a player's girlfriend can tell you anything about their skill set and any tools they have there that could help them on the diamond?
So I think it was Lane Kiffin who actually brought this up with recruiting players and everything like that. And I thought it was pretty funny that he looks at assistant players' wives and says, hey, if they're a good recruiter or not. I prefer to just strictly stay away from that and look at their tools on the field and not worry about any of that stuff. But great question, Sean.
Blinders on, yeah.
Yeah, but blinders, looking at the diamond,
Do you guys have 4,000 YouTube views yet?
This is funny because we just talked about this right before we went on. We were like 50 away from 4,000, so it's possible while we were recording this podcast we're at 4,000 now, but probably not.
Going off of that, Zach, how many of the 4,000 are you?
So when I'm actually, the only time that's funny too. The only the only time those views count. So what I've noticed, because I've actually looked at it because I watch my own videos a lot, honestly, is if I'm signed into the Scout Trio YouTube account, which is the only YouTube account I watch videos on, it doesn't count for those views. So there's 0.
All right.
Yeah. So it'd probably be doubled. It'd probably be close to 8,000 if it was actually me too. But yeah.
Here's a question I thought was kind of ridiculous when I wrote it, but I'm going to spin it now so that it's actually
Great.
like
Sounds good.
How much do you judge? So the original question was, would you rather have a prospect have blonde or brown hair? But going off that, how much do you judge prospects on how they carry themselves or how clean shaven they are, or is it like strictly athletics? Like, do you see personality and how guys look and hold themselves on the field as something that you'd rather see?
Definitely with like the hair color question at the very, very beginning, I could care less. But
Couldn't care less.
Yeah, that's it. Let's reiterate that. I couldn't care less. There you go. Sean's very happy with my reiteration of the answer. So Blake's over here just cracking up right now. That gets Sean cracking up too. But anyways, getting more back to the point, with when it relates to how people carry themselves, I'm not really worried if a guy has a super long beard or super long hair or anything like that.
Chain
but
or no chain?
Hey, if a dude has 80 hit tool and 80 power, they can wear whatever the heck they want.
What's your stance on the bat flip scenario?
Again, if you're an 80 hitter with 80 power, I love the bat flip. If you're a 20 hitter with 20 power, I don't like the bat flip.
2 or 3 buttons undone.
Once again, the same exact answer.
How hard do you need to throw to be able to grunt as a pitcher?
You got to have at least a plus fastball to be able to grunt. So we talked about the grade scale and everything like that. To have a plus fastball for a right-handed pitcher would be about 94, 95. For a left-handed pitcher, we're subtracting about a mile an hour off it.
Why is that?
Left hands are more rare, more special. They're different.
Special.
Hey, some of them are a little bit different than others. I mean, I don't know. I know some left-handed people that are a little bit different. There's nothing wrong with that. Blake over here is a little bit different.
He plays full right hand.
There's nothing wrong with Blake, but he's left-handed. He's just a little bit of an odd character. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being left-handed, but they're just different sometimes. But all kidding aside, it just seems like left-handed pitchers with velocity are a little bit more rare than right-handed pitchers with velocity. So that's why we're more likely to subtract a mile or two off the average or plus velo range.
Let's talk a little bit about your daily routine when you're going to scout a game. So can you describe a little bit what that day looks like for you?
Yeah. So typically for a college game, I would, in a best case scenario world, would like to get there about 2.5 hours before the game. This is typically when teams start taking batting practice. So each team will take batting practice for about 45 minutes to an hour, get set up, do everything, and then they'll take infield, outfield, get ready for the game, and we'll watch the whole game. With a high school game, typically get there about 45 minutes to an hour before the game. They won't take batting practice unless it's specified in the schedule. So those times before games are a little bit more limited. As an area scout or sometimes as an associate, going out and seeing guys practice and seeing BP during practice would be more beneficial for a high school player because, like I said earlier, they don't take batting practice before games. But at the same time, when you're talking about like a daily schedule, on typically heavier days, in a best case world, I would like to double up or potentially even triple up. So what I mean by double up or triple up is seeing 2 games or 3 games. So on a typical Friday, if I can see a high school game that starts at 3 or 3:30 and then pop over to a college game that starts at 6 or 7, that would be a best case world because then you're seeing the most amount of talent possible.
So you go to a lot of these games. Do you ever find yourself cheering on one team or the other?
No, I don't have any rooting sides. As we stated earlier in the podcast, I went to Oregon, love my Ducks, but I'm rooting for prospects and people to play in the big league someday. I don't really care who wins or loses per se.
So we talked about doubling up, tripling up. When do you eat? When do you poop?
And how many podcasts into this thing are we going to get before we're sponsored by Whole Foods?
So with Jake's last joke, I do eat Whole Foods a lot. Love Bristol Farms as well.
95% of the days he doesn't bring lunch to work.
Hey. No, so that's a little exaggeration, but it's fine. But at the same time, so when Sean was talking about doubling up or tripling up, I like to bring snacks. I'll bring an apple, try to eat a little healthy. Lost some weight recently. It's great. Look pretty good. It's fine. It's okay. It's no big problem.
So pushing in at nowadays? What do you weighing in?
165, down about 20 pounds. Feeling pretty good.
You might be hitting that home plate the first time a little quicker nowadays.
Yeah, maybe an average big league runner now. You never know. I mean, sometimes people get faster over time. Some people get slower over time. Maybe I got a little faster.
So going back to the food, do you have any lucky pregame meals? Something that gets you feeling good before you go up and watch that game?
Feeling good.
Confident watching scouting.
Feeling good and hoping that you see the right guys on the right days. Because, I mean, like, hey, they're... Like, every baseball player is a little superstitious, and even some scouts are superstitious. They want to eat, like you said, eat the same place, do everything the same. So they see the guy the best they can for the draft in June. But I personally don't. I like to eat, like I said, eat healthy and just go on and see the game.
Now, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
Oh, jeez. So going back.
That's Sean for you. Let him do whatever he wants to do.
So going back to how you said that you'll go to high school games and college games.
Yeah.
You're looking at both of these.
And JC games. Don't forget JC. Don't forget JC
When
games.
you're looking at both of these different kinds of prospects, will you weigh? How do you go about weighing college prospects versus high school prospects? If you have a 70 high school guy and a 70 college guy, are you more like, do you weigh the college guy harder, or do you weigh the high school guy? Like, do you cut him some slack?
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying.
Are you more worried about taking high school guys higher because you're worried they're younger and mature enough to deal with it? Or?
Yeah, I understand what your question is. So that's why on the website right now, as you see in the very beginning of the grade slash line, you'll see an A, B, or C. So with A's are the most advanced prospects. You'll I can't really think of a high school guy that I would have ever put an A on. So an A, what I mean by A would be being able to skip all the rookie ball levels and go strictly to A ball right out of the draft. So those are basically limited towards college guys, and even college guys is mainly restricted to first, maybe second rounders. B would be going to advanced rookie ball. So that would be the Appy League or Pioneer League. And then C's would be complex league players, which means they would go to the Arizona League or the Gulf Coast League. So if you have a college guy who's a C, you're probably not taking that guy in the top 10 rounds. If you have a high school guy that's a C, you still might be taking that guy in the top 5 rounds because, as you said, like, do you cut those players a little bit more slack because of their age? There could be a second or a third round high school kid who has a ton of ability, but you just worry about them going to the Pioneer League or Appy League where they might struggle. They might face a guy who's thrown with a plus fastball and a plus breaking ball and just pitching a Power 5 conference in college. So you're worried about that. You give that guy a little bit more leniency moving forward because you don't know what they're going to be. But at the same time, when you're talking about would I rather have a high school 70 or a high school 70 or a college 70, it's a little bit more complex than that because is he a pitcher? Is he a hitter? Like, there's just more complex levels. As you see on our pref list right now, I have a high school player who's a B67 over a college guy who's an A67. And you might think, that doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, in my personal view, I rate a position player a little bit more valuable than the pitcher when you're talking about a guy in that extreme. So when you're talking about 6s and 7s and things like that, I'd rather have a perennial all-star than a number 2 starter, if that makes any sense. So that gives you a little bit more perspective of when it strictly comes down to picking high school or college guys and everything like that. Like I said, it's a little bit more complex, and every player is a little bit different. If you want to give specifics and ask questions, please reach out to us on Twitter. Please reach out to us on whatever form of media you use best. We're trying to get on all different platforms and provide the best service for our listeners and our viewers as possible.
So as we wind down here, Zach, what's your schedule looking like next? What are you off to?
Yeah, so tomorrow, this has been recorded on a Saturday night. It's March 24th. Yeah, 24th? Okay.
24th.
Okay, cool. 24th. So tomorrow morning, I'll be heading to the third game of the series between UCLA and ASU. I saw ASU quite a bit last year during extended spring training. I like a few of their offensive prospects on that team. And just want to really circle in
Like who in general?
One more time, Blake.
Who in general? What prospects?
The two guys so far that have jumped out and have jumped out last year was Lyle Lynn, who was a 16th round draft pick out of high school by the Mariners, and also Gage Canning, who I thought last year was an athletic guy, athletic center fielder who could throw and run a little bit. Who I thought has a chance to hit, but then all of a sudden to start this year, Gage is hitting about 490 for ASU right now. So even if you're playing
Proved you wrong.
huh?
Proved you wrong, right?
Well, I mean, I still like the kid. I mean, I didn't think he was going to go hit 490 in D1 baseball, but at the same time, if you're hitting 490 even in D3 baseball, you're doing pretty well for yourself. So
what about NAIA?
depends. I mean, depends on the competition. It just totally depends. But at the same time, Canning and Lowland would be the two top offensive prospects from the ASU team that I'm really dialed in on. So that will wrap up our first ever podcast for Scout Trio. This has been Saturday Night Chat. Thank you for listening.